In today's episode of the Pathmonk Presents podcast, I got a very interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Sandra Polak, and she's sailing over from the folks over at Bets. Bets Recruiting and lets you to hire smarter and scale faster. And today we want to really deep dive into Bets, how to help you to connect to the extraordinary go-to market talent that is out there, and how they help you to grow the business. I've got Sandra here, so welcome to the show, and maybe tell people a little bit more about Bets.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. So Bets is both a traditional kind of recruitment agency as well as a recruit tech platform. We've been around for about 14 years, focusing specifically on the tech industry and go-to-market talent. So our traditional recruitment agency focuses more on the strategic roles and the more executive hires. And then our SaaS platform Connect focuses more on the more junior roles, the go-to-market roles like SDRs, account executives, customer success managers. And we do all of that for just an annual fee. So very different from the traditional paying a fee per hire model.
Very interesting. Now, what types of organizations would you typically work with? Like, what should we imagine to be like a typical customer?
Yeah, so we work with the tech industry. That is very much our niche. That's what we've been doing for over a decade. And really, we do it all the way from startup to big enterprise corporations. It really depends on who is in the market to hire. At the moment, I would say we're more working with smaller companies just due to the climate. But we have customers pretty much all sizes.
Very cool. And what would you say, who within those organizations, is that a head of HR, or is that sort of hiring managers for their particular departments? Who is the one that, picks up on bets and, brings it into the mix, basically?
I'd like to say all of them, but so that depends on the size of the company. If it's a smaller company, we very much work with the executive team. It can be the CEO or founder, CRO, any role like that. If it's a bigger company, we end up in the HR department. It can be, head of recruitment, head of people, or the recruiting manager who comes inbound and reaches out to us because they know they like to use either our platform or our agency.
Very cool. Now, what would you say, how do these guys learn about bets? Like, what's their journey looking like that they go through? Maybe what are the channels that they're tapping into when, they're getting, to know about you guys?
Yeah, and I love that question because as a marketer, I always like to make sure we use, diverse channels, not just one. But the number one thing I need to mention is our founder, Carolyn Betts, is an incredible networker. She pretty much knows everyone, and we all love to network because it's a great way, to get in front of new people. Pretty much any room I walk into, they kind of already know her. So we have a really great reputation. So definitely through networking, we get a bunch of people in. And then because we just deliver really quality service, lots of word of mouth as well. We have happy customer who refer other happy customers. And we also very much lean into that as the marketing team. We set up a referral framework, and we just make sure that, happy customers have an easy way to refer their colleagues at different organizations. Then another thing that really works for us is content. So we have this annual compensation guide that we do that is super popular, that has our Bets branding all over it. And also, the link, the call to action to reach out to us. That gets shared far and wide. I recently joined a new community and I just did a quick search on their Slack for Bets, and literally so many people had shared our content. And that's just such an easy way to get in front of a lot of people. We focus a lot on SEO as well. And then also events. We do a lot of events right now, a lot of virtual events like private wine tastings. We do webinars. We do in-person networking events. So it kind of runs the gamut a little bit.
Very cool. I mean, it sounds like a very healthy mix. You brought up the SEO on the website there. What role do you think the website plays? How would you think about the website?
Yeah, our website very much is our calling card. It's super, super important, and it performs well. And that's why we just do spend a lot of time on it. So I think the number one thing that our website does really well is just we have a lot of content and it's very easy to navigate to. So we have our guides, like I said, the compensation guide, but lots of really informative pieces. So even people who don't maybe work with us yet, they come to our website for information. And whether that's, how to hire the best talent, what questions to ask, how much to pay them, how to explain equity, how much equity should I give, anything like that. So that's super easily accessible on our website. And because we do have a lot of different types of people inbound, right? We have people who are looking to hire maybe, an executive team, or there's people who are coming for more the AE SDR roles, but we also have candidates coming into our website. People are looking for roles. So we need to find a way to, make sure that it's easy for everyone to access the pages that they need to access. So very, very important for people to come inbound. Yeah,
we had like on the show occasionally like recruiters, marketers in the recruiting space, and it's exactly that sort of balance act, right? How do you route the talent? How do you route the businesses? Like, what's something that you've learned is important, for example, for that B2B buyer's journey, that is important when they come to the website that has these two types of users?
Yeah, and I think that's something that I think I'm still learning about every single day, because I wasn't in the recruitment world before Bet. So that was a very new journey for me, right? You weren't just talking to your prospects, you're also talking to your candidates, and they're both equally as important, because you need incredible candidates in order to really service your clients. And they're both, like I said, just equally as important. So really clarity, right? And creating content that works for both of them and speak to both of them with respect and make them feel seen and heard. Because I think what's really interesting as well is we play CROs, right? And they very quickly can also come back and buy our services. So making sure that the journey for them is seamless, it's a good experience, the information is informative, and then, stay kind of top of mind for all of them, so that when they're trying to build out their team, they come right back to us. Very cool.
Very cool. What would you consider as a strength versus where do you see room of improvement for the website?
A strength or room of improvement. Well, I think like the strength I already said, lots of really good information, interesting content. Room for improvement, I think that's the thing I was talking about that we can still kind of learn about, and I'm learning about every single day, is making sure that every person who ends up on the website knows it's for them, right? We're not just talking to people who are hiring an executive team or role, not just for people who are hiring SDRs, but also not just for candidates, it's for all of them. And I think it's a fine balance. And that's something that I'm still today, when I go to the website, I'm looking at, I'm like, does everyone feel seen and heard when they end up on our website? And of course, we have different landing pages for different purposes. And, we link back to different things depending on the journey a user takes. But yeah, just the general homepage, that's something I'm always looking at.
Very cool. Now, I'd like to switch gears a little bit, right, and talk about your journey as a marketer. Now, how would you describe, sort of on a high level, like a typical day? And I know probably there isn't such thing as a typical day, but maybe just a little bit of an insight. What are work streams that you would be involved with usually?
Wow, a typical day, that is near impossible, because it very much depends. There are very many different. So obviously, a typical day is meeting with the team, seeing what everyone's working on, and making sure that everyone feels supported. We also just work together cross-functionally really well at Bet. So it very much will be joining in on conversations with the success team and seeing what we can do there, right, to make sure that we get those referrals that we want. But also making sure you're in touch with your product team and understanding what the roadmap looks like. And the sales team to make sure they have the right content, the right 2-pagers. So part of the day is definitely spent on just collaboration. And then the other part of the day is, for me personally, it's working on like strategic partnerships, networking, as well as just the strategy for where we want to move to next. What is the type of content we want to be focusing on? What type of content do we need to create? What's working? What's not working? So it will be slightly different every single day. Like I said, we do lots of events. So if it's an event day, that kind of takes the focus for that day. Like we have a webinar coming up next week, and we're doing all the prep for that. So it very much depends on what kind of week it is.
Very cool. As we're slowly approaching the end of the episode, I would have some rapid fire questions for you. Are you ready for those?
Sure.
What would be the last book that you read or the last podcast you listened to?
Oh man, I mean, I know the last book I read, but it has nothing to do with marketing. It's actually next to me. What is it? The Last Thing He Told Me, by Laura Dave, and it's turned into a TV show. So I was like, let me read it before I watch the show, because I like to read the book before I watch a movie or a TV show.
Very cool. What's one single thing that Bets is focused on the most at the moment?
improving the journey for both our clients as well as our candidates. We want to make sure that everyone has the absolute best experience so that we do get those incredible referrals in, and that everyone who comes to us as a candidate can later become a customer.
If there would be a magic wand and you could change one thing for yourself as a marketer, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. What would it be? Honestly, I wish I had more skills. Like I wish I was like a Salesforce architect. So because you're very reliant on your operations team often, and sometimes I'm like, can I just fix it? Can I just do this really quick and make sure everything is looking good? So I think if I could change just one thing, that would be the skill set I would add on right now.
Very cool. And for the very last question, if today would be your very first day at Bets, what's the one advice you would give yourself for that journey?
Honestly, it would be observe and learn and just understand what's working, what's not working before making any decisions or changes. And to be honest, I think that is kind of what I did, but I would maybe take my time even more to just learn and observe.
That sounds really, really good. Susanna, I really appreciate you took the time with us today to be a guest on Pathmonk Presents. I want to give you the very last word. If people would be forgetting all that we discussed about bets today, what's the one thing they should remember?
I think the one thing that they should remember if they're hiring sales talent in tech, that they should definitely come and reach out to us and we can help them. And I think they should remember that we're working on making everyone's experience as amazing as it possibly can be, and that we have the best network. So definitely come and hit us up.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathmonk Presents.
Thank you so much for having me.